Hello everyone. Today's video is about embracing mistakes while speaking a language. What generally holds people back from speaking in their target language is, well, it's their fear of doing mistakes when they speak, basically. They just don't want to sound dumb and unnatural in front of native speakers, so they'd rather shut their mouth, play it safe, and not bother with the speaking at all. The main problem here is our ego that is constantly trying to maintain or preserve a good, decent image of ourselves by telling our brain not to speak a word or a sentence if we're not sure about it, so we don't fall into the so-called judgment trap. We become afraid to get laughed at, to feel disgraced, dishonored, undervalued, etc. In this case, the ego will do anything it takes to not make us feel this way. And one way to do that is to send to our brain vivid, anticipated images of people's reactions, meaning how people would react if we were to speak the language and do mistakes. But if you think about it this way, what made you the person you are today is the sum of every single mistake you have made and learned from throughout your life. From the time you were a toddler, when you have spoken your very first words in a funny and incorrect way, no one was there to judge you. In fact, everyone around you was finding it cute and funny, and your parents would smile at you and encourage you to keep saying the words over and over again until you got them right at a more advanced stage. In the world of science, for instance, mistakes are a vital part of the scientific process. Every time a scientist has to go through a scientific experiment, he would write down his hypothesis and then he would try to prove himself wrong most of the time. So in this case, mistakes had to be made in order to come up with a valid conclusion for the sake of science and its evolution. Peter McWilliams, a very well-known American author, once said, and I'm quoting, "Mistakes obviously show us what needs improving. Without mistakes, how would we know what we had to work on?" Well, this perfectly applies to languages as well. How will you ever get the feedback on the mistakes you have made while speaking if you're not willing to speak? And one way to stop worrying about making mistakes would be to drop your biggest enemy, your ego, right before you jump into conversation in your target language. Think that mistakes are the only way to learn, and that if you want to learn to speak a language fluently, well, then you're going to have to do a million of them, right? And instead of seeing them as an obstacle or a hindrance for your speaking, start looking at them as a means of progress, an opportunity to learn something new and to become better with time. One very useful thing you can do as well to overcome the fear of making mistakes is doing monologues, which means talking to yourself in your target language. And I will be dedicating an entire video to talk about verbal and inner monologues. But yeah, so in short, monologues are kind of like a psychological preparation so that when you're confronted with speaking, you feel more prepared and perhaps less stressed about the mistakes you will eventually make. So this is the end of today's video. If you liked it, kindly like and subscribe. And also, if there's anything in particular you would like me to talk about and elaborate, please let me know down in the comments below. Until then, I wish you all a great day ahead and take care.